As I've said before, my life has been a roller coaster ride, and this is one of those periods and times where I was on one of the downsides of this roller coaster. Yeah, I was with work for about 4 or 5 months, and it had gotten so bad that I couldn't give myself away. My wife noticed it and it finally came over and said something. She had tried to be quiet for the longest period of time, but nothing was happening. Nothing had changed. And she just approached me and said, I know you love the designing business. I know you love, fashion and everything else, but maybe you should think about getting a job. And without hesitation, I looked at her and just said, you see that corner over there? I'll go over there and I'll sit there till I die before, if nothing happens. I'm done. I've done everything that I could. I've done all the studying. I went to school for this. I, went through a lot of changes, had my own store, had my own clothing business. I've gone through all kind of changes and so forth. And now God wants me to make a drastic change and go in a different direction. I'm not going to do it. If that's what he wants me to do, sorry, I'm not doing it. He's going to have to come up with something better than that. I cannot believe that he brought me all this far for me to make a U-turn like that. I mean, if it was something I wasn't supposed to do, he should have told me before. Right now, I'm not doing it. I refuse. So I was headed over to that corner when the phone rang. And on the opposite end, they asked for me by name, someone I had never heard of before. And they said that somebody had recommended that, they should talk to me because they were looking for a designer. They were working on a new film, and they were looking for a designer. The funny thing about it, I never did find out who that person that recommended me was. But anyway, the thing is, the reason I remember it was Memorial's Day is because they asked me, they told me that they were actually doing a barbecue right then. And I know it's, a holiday and everything, but if you could come by, swing by and, have some barbecue and a beer, that would be great. And we'll talk about, the situation. And so I said, yeah, sure, fine. I went over there, and I think within 5 minutes they had hired me. And it was for this really unusual film. And it was really right in line with what I had been doing. And that was one of the challenges that I had. Because of having done superhero type movies, my resume just basically was superhero type things. But theirs was about a superhero, but it was kind of an anti-superhero. So we worked everything out within like 5 or 10 minutes and so forth, and I was on. Now, what's odd, not odd, but what was great about that, days before, maybe 2 or 3 days before that project ended, I got a call from somebody else. And that just kept happening. I never had to contact anybody for another job. But 7 years straight, I mean, back to back to back to back to back, I just kept having more and more jobs. Job opportunities come to me. And so at one point, they were doubling up. And so, I mean, God is amazing. And I mean, it was at a critical point, though. I mean, I honestly have to say, I just couldn't do it. I mean, it was like, if this is the way it was going to end, this is the way it was going to end. I'm just not switching over anymore. But that's, that was pushing me. And God, I don't like to be pushed like that, but He knows how much you can bear.